so I don't say what it's for, just for equipment.
We can, I mean, you
Okay.
can say that it's for the new ambulance because the financing that we thought we had in place before we couldn't use.
Okay.
Being all over the window, you know what I mean?
Put them in the file.
Yeah.
Let's create a file and throw them all in there. You mean all those documents?
Do you need a cough drop?
Use because I go over and go, I don't want to have to open something and then click on it, because these are the ones I use. Normally when they're on my big screen, they're over here in this.
Well, just put them in a little file. It'd be a double click, but
Works greater.
I have to go to work in the morning.
Yeah, you get to go to Oxford.
yeah, it cleans up your desktop.
Yeah, I know.
Or pin it to pin them. Or
See
pin
you
them to your
later.
tray.
They're all in my taskbar.
Yeah, pin them to your tray.
She was texting me at 2 in the morning,
Was she working at Morgan last night, or?
sick as a dog. She took off, she was sick, so she was texting me, and she's still out there doing.
Did she go to the fire at all? No?
Pulled her on.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Morgan Township meeting, November 12th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Updike?
Yes?
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Hey, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from Morgan Township Board of Trustee meeting, October 22nd, 2019, as written.
Second?
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved.
And entertain a motion to approve the warrants.
I'll make a motion to approve the payment listing 10/23/2019 through 11/12/2019. Payment number 781-2019 through payment number 850-2019 and warrant number 9555 through 9592 for a total of $129,449.92.
Second?
Mr. Brucker?
Yes?
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, before we go to the audience, I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Reinhardt for a second.
Okay, Brenda Weimer is here again with Dinsmore and Scholl. We are going to be doing a bond for the new ambulance because I discovered that the financing that we had in place was actually illegal for a township to do. Even though the company argued with me and said that it was fine, I said, no, my legal counsel says it's not, so we're not doing it. So Brenda's here tonight so we can do a bond, do everything legal for the $217,000 for the new ambulance, which I believe the chief had sitting out in the parking lot, right?
It's sitting outside.
Clarification, the financing was from a bank from Indiana, and the laws in Indiana and Ohio are different. That's why it was illegal to do it in the state of Ohio.
So Brenda, I guess we are ready for you.
Good evening. I think you covered everything. We're just
Okay.
here to do a bond similar to the fire station, but for a lesser amount and a fewer number of years, with Lebanon Citizens Bank again to finance the new ambulance. It will be a general obligation, full faith and credit of the township. And you have the resolution before you tonight to authorize that. And then if that passes, we have all of the closing papers to be executed to deliver to the bank at the end of the week for funding on that.
Okay?
And I should also mention that the interest rate actually was a little bit lower going this way than what the financing we were having through the bank in Indiana. Not a lot, but every little bit helps. So it worked a little bit to our advantage.
All right, I'll make a resolution to authorize the issuance of $217,000 of equipment acquisition bonds and authorizing the appropriate township officials to take any and all actions necessary to accomplish the issuance thereof.
Need a second.
Second. And if he's reading the whole thing?
No.
Nope.
Mr. Berker?
Make a motion to read by title.
Okay, and now, or a second motion? Make the first motion to
Read by title.
read by, okay. All right, okay. Retract that. I'll make a motion to read the next resolution by title only. Second.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, now I'll make a resolution authorizing the issuance of $217,000 of equipment acquisition bonds and authorizing the appropriate township officials to take any and all actions necessary to accomplish the issuance thereof.
Second?
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved. Carol, we need those resolution numbers, please.
The first one where the next resolution was 175-2019, and the next one for the bond was 176.
You want to write that in here? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Brenda.
Okay, that's all we've got with that, correct?
Yes.
All right, so now at this time, I will ask Christy Quincy with Elderly Service Program.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'm Christy Quincy. I'm in the neighboring Hanover Township, but I was born and raised in the area, so thank you for having me.
I'm a volunteer board member for Butler County Elderly Service Program, which is operated through the commissioners of the County of Butler, and through which all of us property owners are paying taxes based on our properties here in Butler County. Currently, 39 of your residents here in this township are receiving Meals on Wheels, transportation, and in-home non-hospital level help to help them stay in their homes. I became involved in this program about 15 years ago when it first came about because my grandparents were early recipients from the program, and it helped us let them stay in their home where they wanted to live out their lives. I think it's wonderful for communities over the years of being involved to see people get to kind of have it their way as they get older. If you can't cook any longer, but you can keep up your house and drive yourself to the doctor, that shouldn't mean that you have a nursing home or a family member that you need to move in with. There should be other options that can affordably help you stay where you want to be. I really believe in that, and I believe it makes our communities more diverse, our neighborhoods more diverse, and it helps people live out their lives in a more dignified, independent way. So I'm here as a volunteer on this board, and I wanted to just give you all a couple updates on how the dollars are spent and what it means to your township and to the county. The voters voted in 2015 to pass a 1.3 mil levy, and 74.4% of voters said yes to this program. That is the biggest seal of approval I've seen on anything I've been involved in personally. I'm not political, but I do stand behind several causes. And these dollars help us serve 4,000 Butler County elderly residents. The typical person we're serving is a 76-year-old female who lives in her own home on a fixed budget of about $22,000 a year. So if you can get that image, these are the types of people we're helping to remain independent. I do want to mention that I'm here now as a thank you for the votes in 2015, but also as a reminder that in 2020 there will be a renewal levy with no increase that will come up, and all of the Butler County voters will be asked to vote yes or no for this program. It has been wildly popular and very well supported over the years. It has a very good reputation, and I really believe in this. One of the keys, though, and the reasons that I take this time to come out is that the local fire and police are sometimes the first people to see that independence start to slip, and I'm sure you could tell far more stories than I could. But as leaders in this community, I want you all to know that anybody 65 and over could be eligible for this program. So within 24 hours of a phone call, there are some brochures over on the table. Within 24 hours, a phone call will happen. If there are adult children who can help along with that process, that's nice. There is some information that's taken, and a social worker then comes out to the home within 3 days. That social worker is assessing the levels of independence of a husband, wife, or an individual who's asking for the assistance, and a small donation is asked for but not required. So those who do not have any income to put toward the program still may be eligible if the need is present. My favorite program is Meals on Wheels because it also provides a daily check-in. I think a few of you have been on some of the rides with Meals on Wheels in the past. I remember we had a couple of Morgan Township leaders. Once you see the people we're serving, it just sells itself, because these people are school teachers and former firefighters and people who helped build these communities who just with a little bit of help can stay where they want to be. But the real reason I'm here is to just remind you all that this program exists, and sometimes it's an initial fall or an accident that happens at home that kind of is the red flag that says, you know what, maybe a little bit of help is needed at this time for these folks. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is, in addition to that vote next year, I want to point out too that in terms of good neighbors and watching out for others, anyone can pass along this phone call. So when you see someone, a friend or a neighbor who is starting to have trouble, it's the small things. It's not turning their outdoor lights on if that's something that they tend to do at night, or not bringing their garbage cans out, or delaying getting out to their mailbox, those sorts of things. It's never too soon to just make people aware of this. And that first step of, people are so independent, and I love that spirit about people. But at the same time, as a friend, as a leader in the community, making adult children aware of this and making the older adults themselves aware of this program could help before that fall occurs or that situation occurs where they lose that independence before they're able to get the help that they need. So that's really why I'm here. I'll take any questions if you have them. And I want to thank Connie for having me.
We're more than happy to have you. Thank you for coming out.
Okay?
Christie, I just go ahead if you.
Yes.
I was saying, my grandmother was on that program basically when it first started. I know a lot of them look forward to just seeing that person show up every day.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them don't get a lot of attention, a lot of here, and it's a very good thing. And I would support it myself.
Good. Thank you.
So how does the process work if we have an individual that needs that assistance, they notify your office, and then people are offering volunteer services to your office, and then you match up a schedule with a person, with someone they can take care of or bring a meal to, and that's obviously that's ongoing. So how do you sustain that ongoing service to that individual?
Yes, it's a good question. We used to run by volunteers many years ago, and as security and the need for background checks have become just more and more prevalent to allow folks to walk into someone's home for any reason, that has become almost impossible to do. So we do have paid programs. I can tell you Community First over in Hamilton provides a large amount of the Meals on Wheels that come to this area. And we have paid drivers who are background checked and screened, and they're driving safe cars. So there was a safety matter because we're working with another vulnerable population here. So less on volunteers and more on paid screened drivers. And I will mention, though, one thing. In terms of in-home assistance, there is a program now because there's such a national shortage of in-home non-skilled help. So that would be housekeeping, bathing, maybe helping with a checkbook, that sort of thing. We do have a designation. It is called Consumer-Directed Care, by which a friend or family member of the loved one can be screened, background checked, and paid to provide that care. So it can provide a very nice option for the family where, let's say, grandma's in a house alone and the granddaughter needs a part-time job during college, and the granddaughter gets screened, background checked, and hired to provide some of those in-the-house services.
Okay.
So that is a really good option. It's rare. It doesn't happen as often as we'd like to see, but that is an option.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank
I
you.
will just also say that we have identified a couple, and then Chief Griffith has forwarded to the family the phone numbers and the contact information for some of the folks that we've run calls on. So we're familiar with the program. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience tonight? If not, Mr. Galloway.
Okay, first in your packets on the administration side, you're going to see a copy of the 2020 CDBG grant application that I filled out and turned into Desmond last week at the Butler County Planning Commission. What I need tonight, because it was due last Wednesday on the 6th, but he allowed us to, since our meeting was tonight, is to do the resolution from the trustees to approve the grant. And it's on the back page of that copy. And it's, and Connie will have to address this because we had already kind of pre-given it a resolution number.
Yeah, we're going to have to renumber the resolutions because this one's already been turned in as Resolution 175.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we'll have to make the other two 176 and 177. Is that okay, Carol?
Oh, okay. Okay, so the bonds for the new equipment, 217,000, that'll now be,
177.
27.
And then the read by title only will be 176.
Okay, so I will read this resolution, 175.209. Be it resolved that Morgan Township trustees authorize the application to the Butler County Development Block Grant for a culvert replacement at the following address in northern portion of Morgan Township. Nearest address to 1080 North Wind Road, Morgan Township. Total amount of the project is $135,000. Morgan Township will commit 10% of the total cost of the project at $13,500. And then it has the date of November 12th, 2019, and since Connie's the fiscal officer, she's the one that has to approve or sign the resolution. And that will then officially fill every piece of the block grant out. And like I said, it was due in on the 6th. I turned it in on the 4th, and we just need to have this followed with a signature and approval by the board for that grant to go through for potential improvement through the Butler County Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Connie, I'll let you just sign one of them, and then I will
Okay.
take that into Desmond tomorrow or Thursday.
Okay.
Next, we've been assigned our new Ohio Public Leadership Program intern from Miami Township. His name is Joe Humnick. And Joe was supposed to meet with us this morning, but with the fire on Cincinnati Brookville, we basically said, thanks for showing up, and we'll reschedule the meeting. His official term with us, as with Jacob, it'll be the winter term of January 2nd through January 24th. However, we deem that we want him to move further into the spring and then summer semester like we did with Jacob, we can. One of the goals that I have right off the bat is when we attended the Ohio Township Association conference last year, they had a very good program on, there's a grant for that. And I want to have him, probably one of his projects is research all the grants that are out there, both state, local, and federal. Because Jacob had a line on a infrastructure federal grant for road projects, and had found out that the population the size of Morgan Township would qualify for it, but it was too late in the year. It was already in July. And so we'll need to contact Jacob, because I could not find that in my records today, what that grant was. But that's one of the things I think that we'd like to have him pursue, because we already have the manual and everything done. We just have to do our revisions and reviews of it. So we'll get some guidance from the three of you as well on some of the other projects. But I think that would be one of the ones I'd like to see him start to do, is that start doing that visiting of all these grants that are available out there for the township.
That means we'll probably have to do more door-to-door.
It all depends. It depends. Some of the federal grants are just a straight 75-25 without having to do things of that nature. So the population of the township, the square size of the township, 36 square miles, versus the population, a lot of times, like with the USDA grants, allows us to be eligible for a lot of those grants because of our lower population. So that'll be things that he can research in that availability. So.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Next, over on the fire department side, first one is Station 141 addition. So last Thursday, I received the contract from Branstetter Carroll for the contract to sign with Morgan Township, with Branstetter Carroll, and then Empire Construction. There was some issues, a couple of questions in there of bonds and insurance, and I sent it off to Brenda. Brenda kind of looked at it and said, I think you probably want your legal folks to look at this, because it was very vague. It had everything referred to Article 13, Article 14. It didn't have the real conditions of the termination or anything like that. So I contacted Jack Grove, and he said, yeah, we need to get a copy of all these articles that it refers to back, so that it protects the township. Well, the bid book that they gave us actually has the package in the front. So tomorrow we're going to have a pre-construction meeting with the builder, but the contract won't be signed until Jack goes through and looks at the articles to make sure that the township is protected, to then authorize us to sign a contract. But tomorrow will be our first pre-bid construction meeting with Empire to get the construction and everything started, and dates and things of that nature get started. So Jack was on vacation this week, but he has all the stuff emailed to him, and he said he would get to look at it the first of next week. Questions on that? Okay.
Chief, I got one question. The people who submitted for subcontracting, like for the HVAC and for the plumbing and for all of those, I know we've got all those people that had put in bids for the work, when we went back and rebid the overall project, will those people come back to rebid their piece of the work, or how will that?
No,
how will
Empire,
that
when
work?
Empire was awarded the bid, they took all the subcontractors that bid their subs into Empire, and then Empire was the overall contractor with all his subs that gave their bids into him.
Okay.
Was the award. Now, my understanding is that most of the subs for all the contractors that rebid just rebid their same stuff or tweaked it because of the change of scope and just rebid back to the master contractor.
Okay, so they're all still in the mix.
They're all
with
still,
the-
they're all still
Okay.
back, and so whoever Empire had for the second bid, those subs probably rebid as their subs into Empire's final bid that we approved.
What time tomorrow is the pre-meeting?
1 o'clock with
Okay.
Randstad and their folks, and then with Empire tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Next, the new squad is outside. I'll be glad to show everybody it when we get done here. It was delivered yesterday. Just a couple of other notes to it. So it's got the on-spot snow chains in the back in a box. It's got the compressor that runs that. That all was paid for by PennCare, and then Mike Milo, when he delivered it Monday, basically said, as soon as it goes over to KM Mechanics, I think in Westchester, when they install it, just send the bill directly to PennCare. That's all part of the cost of the squad.
Nice.
So everything is paid for, no additional cost to the snow chains. The upgrades are the additional back seat that they put in, and that stuff has already been installed in there. And something we didn't realize until they delivered it on Monday, but one of the upgrades is actually a spare tire with a rim. That doesn't come with the ambulances. That's an extra. They get a spare tire and a rim. So this one has it sitting in the back right now until we take it and locate it at Station 142. So that's an upgrade to
How many
an
miles
ambulance.
are on it?
4,000.
It's not much.
I just looked at it right there now. 4,000 was built in June of this year, 2019. So.
Okay.
I will let AC do his annual reports or his quarterly reports after I do 3. POs, you have those in your packet. So the first PO was to Vogel Pool for $1,428. We had our Lehigh Road Fire. We exhausted all of our foam, including our extra spare. So we purchased 600 gallons of foam for all of the vehicles, and then we have 10 5-gallon buckets now in reserve as well. And that PO to Vogel Pool would be for $1,428.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, second PO would be to Fire EMS.
Okay, wait.
Oops, sorry.
That one is actually it's for Fire EMS Academy, but the PO, we're paying Praetorian Digital, and it has to be a then and now PO because they didn't send their bill out on time.
How about that?
So it was like
Yes.
2 months late when we got it.
Yep.
So
Which will say at
it's
the top, if you look at the
For the
top, it'll say up there
2788.
September of
2788.
18.
So on my fiscal officer report, it's number 18 on there. It's a then and now PO.
So do you want me to read mine or no?
You want to do it now or when you do your report?
We can do it now since we've
Okay.
already started.
Okay. So,
You want me to?
yep, you can go ahead and I'll
Okay.
explain it.
It's a then and now PO to Praetorian Digital for $2,788 for the Fire EMS Academy for the annual subscription fee with a then date of 9/18/19 and a now date of 11/7/19.
And this is all our online training that we do for both Fire EMS and then what all of the trustees and the road department do for the sexual harassment
HIPAA.
and the HIPAA and all that. This is what all of the township employees do as well as not just the fire department. And this is our annual training contract with them.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, and third one will be to Phoenix Safety Outfitters for $7,476. This is for new bunker gear. Captain Fonz's bunker gear was expired under the NFPA 10-year requirements. And then firefighter paramedic Derbyshire and firefighter paramedic Cook are our 2 new hires. And they were kind of using makeshift gear that didn't really fit them until we got them full fitted, setted gear. And those will be coming out of the uniform account for the fire levy of 2111.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Questions for me? Just a quick update, because we've had a lot of questions and concerns and all that. So the barn fire that was reported at 10 o'clock last night, several residents that called in as several explosions. That's kind of what came in originally as explosions. It was tractor and the larger tires on the combine, so that's what that explosion was. There were folks that called in as Indian Woods Lane called in because they literally were behind the barn and saw it. So that's where it was. There's stuff on social media about explosions in Morgan, and that's what it was. It was explosions that actually happened inside the barn while it was on fire. So with that, the state fire marshal came down today, and there's 2 of them assigned to the case. Morgan Township Fire Department and myself turned it over to the state fire marshal's office for their full investigation since of the dollar loss, the high dollar loss. So they're now the lead in it. We just are assisting them with our initial report, our initial arrival, and then the photos that we took last night initially. So it's now in the state fire marshal's hands on that. So just a quick overview on that. So other than that, I'll pass it off to Chief Griffith for the October reports.
All right, let's see if we can hear it. We're up 49 runs from this time last year. 406 is our total number of incidents. We had 1 structure fire last month for a loss of 110,000 contents in home. That was our only fire. The other one building fire there was one we went mutual aid to. Also, chimney fires are starting to pop, so we had 1 this month, 1 last month. If everybody could get their flues cleaned, we'd greatly appreciate it. Other than that, we did transport 1 EMS transport mutual aid for Ross Township, and no one transported for us. Most of these mutual aid givens and received are fire calls, whether they be chimney fires or whatever, the full response, but there's only 1 EMS that's reflected on that report. And that's all I have unless you have questions of me about it.
Good. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, I have 3 things. First is I have number 1 dump truck is down at Bluss Motors. We have an antifreeze leak that I'm not able to locate. So they are trying to locate that, and also while they have it there, the truck, when you press the brakes, was pulling to the left. So they're trying to see what's wrong with there, and then also have them fix the passenger side mirror. It's not working right, so I have not received an estimate yet, but I'm going to ask for a PO for $3,000 to Bluss Motors, because I'm also getting all my oil filters and fuel filters and stuff to service the other 2 trucks also along with that. I don't think it'll be that much, but just to cover it.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion approved.
We're also working on Schraden Road. I had really hoped to be done with this before now, but because of some unforeseen things, we've been delayed on that, and now Mother Nature is delaying us even more, so hopefully we can get that finished here. We have 2 more spots that we want to mill out and put blacktop in, and we're going to do some Durapatching on some other spots on Schraden.
If it gets warm enough.
If it gets warm enough. It won't be warm enough tomorrow, so.
Nope.
We're hoping maybe Thursday or Friday we could do it, hopefully, but
Monday is supposed to be 50.
might wait till Monday then. And then the last thing is all 3 of the road employees went to the annual snow and ice training at the Butler County Engineer's office. After the snow and ice training, there was a snowplow rodeo, and Morgan Township has the number 1 snowplow driver in Butler County, but it's not me. Steve Robertson won that.
Oh,
And
Yay.
Mark would have been second had he not dropped his plow at an angle. I mean, he dropped it at an angle that cost him 60 points, so it put him at 4th place. So If he'd have dropped it straight, we'd have had number 1 and number 2. And I won't say where I'm at. So, and myself, I was way down the list, so I won't even say where I was. But I felt I did pretty good, but obviously not well enough to be in the top 10. So,
But you got a lot more practice last night, right?
yes, a lot more practice, and I kept it on the road. So did my other guys, I should say. All mortgage trucks stayed on the road.
Yeah,
So.
I saw that this morning.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Marshall,
Yeah, could you switch over for me, please?
switched?
Yep. On November the 1st, this past Friday, Friday last, the 1st of November, Rob, Steve, Mark, and Kurt, and myself met down at 3687 Scott Avenue to remove the tires. As you can see, by the time we finished, we had 27 tires, which came to a tonnage of 2,330 pounds. So a ton of tires, literally. We were able to take them up via Ann Flagg's arrangement directly to the tire processing site in New Miami, okay? So just to show you a little bit of what was happening, they took the skiff loader, we load them up about 8 or 9 at a time. And the result of the cost of that to Morgan Township is a lot smaller than we thought it was going to be. The road crew hours totaled to $232.05. And the mileage for the 2 trucks round trip was 36 miles each, so it would have been 72 miles for $41.76. And so there was an expense of $273.81 to remove the tires, okay? All right. Any thoughts, any questions on that? I want to thank Rob and Steve and Mark for their excellent job in helping with this and doing it, okay?
On that note, did you ever speak to the one guy and see if you can find out who sold them the tires? Because y'all are still want to go.
He hasn't called me back.
Okay. I will call them and speak to them.
Okay, before I go on, I want to switch it back because I don't need it off of that. Okay. All right. I have received a zoning application for certificate for construction of a retail store in Shandon. Chief, you're aware of this one. We've talked. The retail company is Dollar General, and they are in the process of designing a store for Shandon. I still haven't received, Jeff, and I wanted to try to get to you today, but with the barn fire and everything, I couldn't, and everything. I still haven't received the big plans that we're looking for. We're still holding off on that, just to keep you up on that one, okay? So you'll be aware, and I'll keep you updated on the development of that as we go through it to see how it works. If anybody wants to know where it's going to be located, the in-between storage, they're taking a part of that lot that's there, plus the vacant lot to the east of it, and are going to put in a 91,000 square foot store.
9,100.
9,100, yeah, 9,100 square foot store, 91,000 square foot store. They wouldn't fit on that lot, would it? I'm sorry.
It wouldn't fit in Shandon.
Yeah, a Walmart. Oh, why not? Let us be known for something out here, okay? Yeah, just a zero. Yeah, 9,100 square feet. So with around, I think it was 29 parking spaces and an egress off of Cincinnati Brookville Road and everything else. As to how it will fit, we're not, that's what we're waiting for, is to see where it's fitting and how it's fitting, because the little plans they've submitted, it's very hard to read and understand how they're putting it on there and to meet the criterion around it. Although in the business area, the setbacks are minimal and nothing, or nothing, all right? As you saw walking in out here, you saw a display up here. That display is for a public hearing that will be held by the Morgan Township Zoning Commission for the purpose of the zoning change in Shandon, not related to Dollar General, by the way. The meeting will be here in the Administration Building on November the 20th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Information and details for this zoning change are out there for display and everything else, or you can contact me. It's also on the Morgan Township webpage under zoning, and you can contact me at my office number. The Butler County Planning Commission just today approved the zoning change with recommendations and everything else. So we proceed to the public. A legal notice was published in Sunday's Hamilton Journal, and we're on track to have the meeting. After the zoning commission will either approve or recommend to the trustees, and then it will be up for the trustees to determine their date for a public meeting on this change, okay? If you have any other questions, you just ask me, okay? Well, I'm not going to use this meeting time. I just wanted to let you know what's going on. I'm also awaiting documentation from a property owner for a Board of Zoning Appeals hearing asking for an area variance for an attached garage. That meeting, if it comes to fruition, is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, December the 12th for the Board of Zoning Appeals. Notices will be sent to all properties around the neighborhood. It happens to be off on Hamilton Scipio Road, so it may not even affect you guys and everything else. The other thing too, I'd like to go back to my report from last meeting, but and everything else. The complaint for 1133 South Weaver Road is in the works. The person being complained on has already made some movement on doing what I've asked in terms of that. He's moved the boat. He's also got rid of the car and working on the other things that we talked about. The owner from 4862, which I received a call from concerning a roof being placed over 2 mobile homes, she did come in, got the application, and I'm not sure whether Butler County has issued her any permits for the address or not. All I did was, but I stopped by the property at that time and spoke to her. She came in the next day. We filled out the application, charged her double for starting the work without coming in and being a good person, okay? Not trying to, I'm still trying, like the Dickens, to get in contact with Mr. Trader at about 1714 Bell Road. We're just not making the contact.
He has moved a little bit further.
Has he?
He has now uncovered a Volkswagen that was underneath all the debris, and that's.
Oh, no.
Yes, there is a Volkswagen sticking out of the garage.
Okay, it's out
So
a little bit.
It's not out. They just uncovered stuff off of it, so you can now see a Volkswagen.
Yeah, I'm worried about the wall there beside that Volkswagen. I think it's leaning. Has it fell?
It fell last night.
Oh, I was wondering. Okay, all right.
From the wind, the snow, or what?
It's leaning against, or laying up against it.
Did it hit the house?
Flat on the ground, but it hit the house as it went down, so.
Okay. All right, all right. And then also, you have there in your packet something that I would love to try to implement via the web, okay? This is sorry, I don't have anything to show you guys out there, but it is a complaint form that I'm working on and have been working on So that all we have to do is either take, this is an automated Word document in the present form that you're seeing it, okay? If we place it out there, I'm not sure how it would work. I'd like to place it out there and see. Otherwise, we could turn it into an editable PDF in some form or fashion. It's asking for the very basics of someone who's making a complaint. I, by rights, should be making some kind of formal update on each of the complaints we receive, okay? And that's what I'm trying to start, all right? As you can see, it's asking for it. If I were to get this back and there was no complainant's name on there, guess what would happen? It wouldn't be followed through, okay? That's the primary reason. And I think I need to really make sure that that is expelled upon, maybe in terms of it, just adding it. So like your thoughts, your answers about it, I'd like to try to implement it at the beginning of next year. We're, to keep it going so that we're off of that and everything else. Once it comes into me, then I fill out the lower portion, which is anything else,
Are we
okay?
going to have a list of what constitutes a violation instead of just being upset with your neighbor?
That can, yeah. What is a violation, right? And the steps to do it, because there are,
Have you ran this by Jack?
I haven't ran it by Jack yet, no.
Yeah, wasn't there an issue with some kind, we had to be careful with complaint forms? If we put them out there, then we were required by law to take legal action if it didn't? Am I not remembering right? Something.
We have to
think
follow
you're-
up on it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right
We have
in
to
that
follow
respect.
up
We
on
have to
it.
follow up on it. I mean, I have to follow up on someone, on any, if I get a phone call.
Yeah, but there
So-
was, I think it was the guy with the weeds, there was something about, we had to be careful putting a complaint form out there, or it, obligated us more than we wanted to be obligated. So I think that's a good
Oh, I
idea.
remember the guy with the poison hemlock,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And everything too, so, but it's just a thought. I had been working on this off and on, little things that I do while I'm sitting in there in my
I'll
hours.
run this by Jack as well,
Okay, will do.
just to see
Why-
what legally,
Why wouldn't we go to the prosecutor's office as opposed to Jack?
why?
Yeah, why wouldn't that be our first course to
I
talk to
think we
them?
need to, I think Jeff's right, we need to try that first before that we spend the
I'll
money
take
on
it through
Jack.
to Mary Ann then.
Well, here's my only thing. We've been using Jack for all the zoning and all that. That's kind of his specialty. If something goes to court, which one are we gonna use? I mean, I hate to say it.
Well,
you're
we would,
tugging your tail.
we would most likely have to use Jack if it were a zoning issue for the courts, yes. But I will send it to whoever you desire me to send it to, or everything else. But I can,
The only thing is, as we build up hours for Jack, or we build up hours to the prosecutor, the price, the cost of Jack is $350 an hour,
$325.
$325. So let's go to the prosecutor, and then if we don't feel like we get full service, then go to Jack.
$325 is a small price to pay if you're wrong and then they mail you.
Well, you got the prosecutor's office behind you if you're following their counsel and you get a suit. So that's a pretty strong position to be in my opinion. So, why not try?
I leave that discussion between you three.
What's your thought?
I don't know. I have not had many dealings with Mary Ann, but I have with Roger Gates, and I know that they were not very definitive on their response.
Yeah.
It was basically, the fence riding. And we will definitely get a direct answer from Jack. I know that.
Well, I'll give you an example in support of Jack, and I can give you an example in support of Mary Ann. In certain cases, Mary Ann has been reasonably responsive to me, okay? But this past week, I told Connie that I needed to call Jack on a situation that I wasn't quite clear on, okay? That really has had strictly to do with zoning, all right? And I called Jack, left a message with Bonnie, his administrator, and within an hour or so after he got out of a hearing that he was in, he had called me and we had discussed it for 15 minutes. So I spent 15 minutes of money perhaps, okay, and got the answer that I needed for that. So that's, you take that into consideration too. Same way with Mary Ann, I've written her. Now in the case of Mary Ann with the Scott Street stuff, I didn't hear from her for over a month. Why? Because they were focused on a case that was similar to the one case with Scott Street. I'm not saying that usually with Roger Gates, I could get a response fairly quickly, but it might be a day or two and everything else. So I'll let you guys still discuss that. I'll just give you my dealings with them.
Is there another gentleman that we can use besides Mary Ann at the prosecutor's office?
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to ask Mr. Mosler that.
They're
Moser.
all assigned
Assign-
different, they're all assigned
I thought there was
different.
one other
different-
person
Dan
that they threw out.
Ferguson, but he kind of does civil. So
Okay.
Dan
Yeah.
Ferguson, I've dealt with him for years and
So-
he's very good, but he kind of does civil and he's also, in theory, the assistant county prosecutor. So he kind of takes some of the Mike Mosier's stuff that Mike assigns him. So Roger Gates was always assigned strictly to the townships.
Right.
And so Mike has then assigned Mary Ann Nardiello to fill Roger
Roger's.
Gates since he retired. So she's really pretty much assigned to the townships. So,
I know that other name, Ferguson, came
Yep.
out when there was a delay in her response
yes.
to the questions around the tree down in Shandon,
Yep.
because she wasn't responding.
And also, I've asked several times to meet her in person so that we could introduce herself, I get to know her a little better and everything else. She has yet to ever sit down with me in person. I can call Jack and say, hey, Jack, can you come out? And in fact, Jack is going to be coming out sometime this week or maybe next. He's got some other legal rulings from the appeals courts and stuff that he wants to bring out for us to look at and to have in our possession. Plus, I don't know whether you've noticed that I have this big, thick book. It's the Ohio, it's on Ohio zoning, done by some professors at Miami. And it's about this thick. I mean, it's huge and everything else. He has given us, for the last 2 years, his old copy of that. And he will be doing that again. Last year, when I got the 2017 copy, he said it cost him $550. This year, he says he's going to be giving me the 2018 because he bought the 2019 and it's cost him $625 to get that book. Okay, yes, it is a year behind, but the revisions done in it from year to year are so small you really can't judge or tell. All right? So who do you want me to put this by? Shall I do both?
You can put a call in to Mary Ann, and if you don't get a timely response, then go to Jack.
I'll email her, and if I don't get a response, then go to Jack. All right? Are you in agreement to that,
I agree. Good call.
Brett?
All right, I guess. I'd
All
rather
righty.
see Jack, because I think we're much safer in that route. I know it costs a little bit of money, but a little money spent here might save us a ton in the long run.
But we
And
only
it-
have about an hour and a half of Jack's time left on the current PO that we have. So just to put that out there.
And we
How much time do you think you cut
I'm
out?
separate.
spending this year.
I'll pay mine reviewing the contract because I think that is specific and
Yeah, that's not
he
zoning.
wrote a lot of that. He wrote some of those original articles in that, so I'll pay that out of the bond. I won't get into
Thank
Jack's
you.
time with zoning.
Thank
Well,
you.
if I remember right, we approved 3,000 and 1,500 for Jack this year, am I correct?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, I don't
I
remember.
think it's been $4,500 for the total between the two POs
For the whole year.
for the whole year. And I have, as Connie said, I had about $500 left of the last PO, which was the $1,500 one. And I spent 16 minutes on the phone with him, which was a quarter hour. Okay. All right. The other thing is, Brett, we tabled the State Line Road dwelling and the junk and all of it. Do you want to pursue it tonight or anything else?
I guess here's my question. I was up there twice, negative time I could get them to come to the door, whether they're home or not, I don't know. If we pursue it, are we willing to go ahead and pay for that if we pursue it to get it cleaned up? I don't know that they will. I mean, they did finally trim the bushes, but we've been through this at least twice. Every time we have to go through the rigmarole, I wish we could just take them out and be done with it, but it hasn't went there.
I
It ends up
understand.
Trimming them. So we spent money, and there wasn't a lot of money. So if we go after them, are we willing to go ahead and pay to get it cleaned up and do that? Because there's quite a bit of stuff there.
Well, my biggest concern is the cars. That would be the most costly part of it. The other thing I think I could do would be to find perhaps a junk picker-upper who would go and get it with no charge to us, being able to sell the metal or whatever else he could do in terms of earning money from it. If that it would be even acceptable to our attorneys in any form or fashion.
Don't we need to get a court order
can't go
in
on
order to
private
go on the
property.
property and remove things?
Yeah, you
We
can't
need
just
to
go
get
on
a-
private
just- yeah.
property and take it
We need to get a
off.
subpoena and all of that, but we have to go through the process of the letters, okay, and everything else. But when we get down to it, how we arrange it and everything else, we would go out with a police, a sheriff on site with us.
Are
But
you
we would
gonna
have the
us to
court
move
order.
this stuff?
Huh?
Are you saying that us as a township move it? Because,
No,
okay, that's what I'm saying, because I know most everyone else does an outside service.
that's right.
Where they
That's,
take the responsibility, they got the
Right.
insurance, they got all that,
Right.
we don't have.
we would contract for,
Okay, as long as we're on the same page.
we would contract for someone with the cars, okay? We would contract someone to remove the debris of the washers and dryers or whatever metal pieces are there in terms of that.
Computers in the yard, trash in the yard. Yes, Tracy?
Is it all junk, or is it somewhat working?
Who knows?
How do you
I
know?
think you have a mix of everything.
We know the cars aren't working.
Yeah, I did all that research a couple months ago, maybe last year. And Goodwill and actually Habitat and the DAV will come out no matter what the cars look like, and we'll get them at their expense. Goodwill and Habitat will remove other things also. Butler Tech is always in the need for, I like to call it tinkering apparatus for their students to learn on. Butler, I can look at the Butler Tech on how they apply it.
But still, we need to get that court order and get a judgment against them, and obviously, they got the right to appeal that, so it's not gonna happen this calendar year.
Right,
No way.
right. It's not going to happen this calendar year.
And the expense involved doing that.
Plus, we may
Do we
have to
do
pay
that
all
through the
bills
prosecutor?
up front, and then whether you get your money back is questionable.
If you get a call back or a response back from Mary Ann, can you ask her if that is in her realm to do that as her service to the township?
Yep.
Or do we have to get other legal counsel to?
No, no,
Represent
the
us.
prosecutor is definitely for us on that one.
Okay,
That
just
I
make
know,
sure
but I
that.
will. All right, that's all I have, other than that. Okay.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Okay. Sorry, guys, I've got a long list tonight.
We took one off already.
Well, actually, we've taken 2 off, so, but shorten it a little bit. All right, number 1, we need to rescind Resolution 162-2019 from the 10/22/19 meeting. This had to do with the financing for the squad.
so moved.
Second.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion approved. Then we need amend Resolution 170-2019 to read as follows. Approve adding $217,000 to Fund 2281, which is ambulance and EMS billing, in the revenue and appropriation budgets for the bond for the new squad from PennCare.
Motion made.
Second.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved. All right, the Bureau of Workers' Compensation payment, we've been doing it annually for several years now. They haven't given me their final figure, but it's going to be approximately $12,000, which is a substantial reduction from last year because some of our claims have finally fallen off that were there from years ago. So I need to know if you want to make one payment to receive the 2% discount, or if we want to do it quarterly or whatever.
If we got the money. We got
It's
the money.
already been appropriated. I appropriated $17,000, so,
So moved.
As long as we got it to get by through the April time, when we
Yeah.
get money, I'm good one time.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Oh, you got this on there, okay.
We need to reschedule the 12/24/19 meeting because I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be here on Christmas Eve.
Why not?
So
Well,
moved.
actually, I probably would be easier for
What do
me
you
than
want-
anybody else,
What do you want
so.
to move it to? Do you want to go,
23rd, or you guys want to move it to, which would be a Monday, or you want to move it to a different week? Is anybody going to be out of town? You guys going to be in town?
you want to do it December 17th, the week before, or is that'd be back-to-back meetings?
Or is that going to mess you up with checks and?
Do you need it that week, I guess?
It won't mess me up with checks. We're just going to have, there'll be some like towards the end of the month that you guys are going to have to come in and sign. But, I mean, I can work around that as long as you guys can come in on a weekend and sign checks
Do
for
we
me.
just skip
Or
it
are you
then?
gonna need us-
No, we can't skip that end of the year meeting because there's,
No, I mean,
oh,
Or
do,
are you going to need us like
Okay,
later
you're right.
because of the end of year stuff?
Yep,
that we have to
that's
do
right.
at the
I
beginning?
might, yeah.
Do it the 23rd, the Monday night before?
Either that or the 26th, whatever works for everybody else.
Well, I know end of the year we'll end up being in here again, so, yeah. 23rd?
It's good
23rd 's
here.
fine.
Yep. 23rd's good.
Okay.
23rd, everybody? Out there good too? You guys always come, so.
All right, thank you.
Before wider, you can say Nicole, that's right.
We received a notice from Southwest Regional Water District that our water rate is going to increase 5% annually for the next 3 years. So I just, yeah. It said in their letter that they haven't had a huge increase for several years now, and so they're, justifying that they've went without, so now they're going to make it up, basically. So, I just, I've only received one letter, and I haven't received one at home. I don't know if anybody else has or not, but,
They make you pay online like they are the rest of us?
they didn't say anything about that.
I got a letter where I have to pay my water bill online or I get charged a fee.
I didn't get that either at home. You must be special.
I must be.
If I pay it by a credit card, I get paid, charged a fee, it said, but it didn't say
Well, they
anything.
said that too. if you
Yeah.
But they said if I didn't do the online thing, that I would be charged a fee.
I didn't get
I haven't
that.
got that either.
Paid by check at the office.
You be charged for me to pay a check at the office?
Yeah, if you took a
That's
check
crazy.
to them at the office, you'd still be charged a handling fee instead of going through the online.
Wow.
Obviously, we went the online version, but it's not automatic. You have to, when they send you the bill, you have to go in and click it and go through their thing, and it deducts it out of your checking account.
So basically eliminates a job.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, next, I need approval to transfer $5,000 to Fund 2021-330-323, which is repairs and maintenance for the road department, from Fund 2021-930-930 contingencies for repairs to road department vehicles.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved. I need approval to transfer $12,000 to Fund 2031-330-190, which is salaries, from 2031-330-420, which is operating supplies for road department salaries.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Motion approved. Then we need to transfer $6,000 to Fund 2031-330-190, which salaries, from Fund 2031-330-323, which is repairs and maintenance, again, for road department salaries to
So
make
how
it to
long
the
will
end of
that-
the year.
To the end of the year?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Motion approved. We need to transfer $70 to Fund 1,120-322, which is garbage and trash removal, from Fund 1,110-312, which is auditing services, to finish out the Rumpke bill for the rest of the year.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved. Okay, I need a PO to Cronin Ford for $1,990.40 for repairs to the Ford 550 for the road department.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Motion approved. We already did the one to Blust Motors. I need a PO to Branstetter Carroll for $19,250 to be taken from Fund 4101, which is the bond fund, to reimburse Fund 2111, the fire fund, for the architect fees that we have already paid.
It's already been paid. So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Motion approved. PO to Highland Group for $100 for the bonds for Dale Marshall and Rob Brem.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved. And Rob, I have your bond for you to sign in my office. PO to Dinsmore and Scholl LLP for $5,203 for the fees for the firehouse bond.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved. PO to Duke Energy for $1,600 for electricity for the remainder of the year.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved. PO to Best General Contracting for $1,169.80 for tires for the skid steer.
It's just because they got damaged in picking up the tires.
No.
We better add that to the cost.
Oh,
So
boo,
moved.
Tom.
No.
Second. You wanted that already?
Mr.
When the machine's on pavement all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't take long.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Motion approved. PO to Premier Companies for $2,500 for fuel from Fund 2111.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion approved. We did that
that
one. Replace the PO to PennCare in Resolution 171-2019 with a then and now PO to PennCare for $217,000 for the new squad with a then date of September 24th, 2019, and a now date of 11/15/19.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
And then I need executive session for confidential matters, shouldn't take long.
Just one thing tonight on behalf of the solid waste management in the county, that we closed out our 2018 reports And we just got to highlight for what we were able to gather and keep out of the landfill on a recycle. And Morgan Township kept 80 tons out of the landfill. And just to give you kind of a perspective of where we are with a couple other townships. 80.
80.
That's from our unit back behind the building here. And Madison Township did 54 tons, and Hanover did 103 tons. So we're right in the middle of a couple townships that were just selected at random. So congratulations for all the people that are recycling. That's all I got.
So we don't want to pay for that.
That's right. We do not want to pay for recycling.
Hey, Mr. Rocker?
Nothing to report?
All right. The only thing I got, policy manuals. Our next meeting, I think we can meet at 6. Start going through some of that for like the first hour, then go into the trustee meeting. And next question, everybody still got it online? The latest version.
Is that the latest version?
If not, I can resend it if you don't.
Why don't you go ahead and do that just to make sure we all got it? I know I've got like 2 or 3 versions of it.
Okay, so 26 at 6 o'clock.
And we'll start going through that. Rob, I need you to read that and go through that as well.
Rob's probably ahead of us. He's done quite a bit already.
You've been here longer than any of us. Make sure we get all that correct before we send it in. I think that's all we got, other than we're going to executive for personnel.
Personnel matters.
And confidential. And confidential matters.
And confidential. Anything else?
Nope. Nothing else.
If not, I'll make a motion, 8:08, to go to executive session for personnel and confidential.
Second.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
We are adjourned to executive session.
I don't need John on the one.
Are you good, Chris? All right, I'll make a motion at 9:19 to come out of executive session.
Second.
Mr. Updike?
Yes?
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
We were back in session.
All right, I guess we're gonna ask Riley if they can meet on the 25th of
Yep,
November.
Monday the 25th at 6.
To do a work session with us and them. Other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes?
We are adjourned.
All right, get the tape out.